Hi, I'm Holly Pike. If you'd like a trial of the Generation software that I use for digitizing, please visit trygenerations.com. This video is a recording of a live video I did for my previous students. You may hear references to You Can Digitize or YCD. That's my old website that is now closed. My new website is digitizingschool.com. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. I'm going to grab this little guy because, hey, getting ready to go back to school. Yippee. I'm going to say, okay. Now, I don't really want this to be in the 5x7 hoop, so I'm just going to highlight this and put it in my 4x4, which is under 100 millimeters. Now, this is kind of light in color, so I'll hold my Shift key and press the plus key a bunch of times until it darkens up. Okay, that looks good. So let's talk about this a little bit. Things we need to do. We need to make sure that this is a number 1. Looks like these are on top of the pencil, so they can go after we do the pencil, but this one is behind. So we'll do this and this, and then we'll do the rest of it. I think I'm going to do all of this in one piece, and then I think I'm going to divide it with a curve and a line and change things and make the design. When you have a well-defined shape like this, you can do that. If you don't have a well-defined shape, it's kind of tough to do it. Okay, no questions. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go down here. I like to work in color. Some people like to work in one color and then change everything at the end. I'm very visual. I need to see visually what's happening. So I'm going to choose black and go to 400. And I'm going to come right down here. And I'm going to start just a little touch inside that yellow because I want to make sure that it's underneath the pencil. I'll stop right here on the line. Now the reason I stop here on the line is so I don't get those weird little connectors. And then I'll pick it right back up. Okay, I am not going to go underneath here or allow it to travel underneath that yellow. And I'm going to say why. Hopefully you all are saying, because you'll see the black through the yellow. So hopefully y'all are with me on that. Okay, then I will take these 3 pieces here, view outline icon, and I'm going to merge them. I did not merge these 2 because they are not touching these 2, okay? So sometimes that's a tough one for new people, but if it's not touching, don't merge it because you'll kind of have a mess on your hands. Okay? So now we're going to save the arms and we'll do the hands. I don't really like that green, so we're going to do them in this color. And again, I'm just going to use my my line tool. Making sure that I'm touching. I could do these in a multiple pass of triple run if I wanted to, but I don't want them to stand out that much, so I'll just do them that way. Now I probably should turn on my Navigator. The Navigator is this little box here. Navigator is what I can do this and move around my screen so I don't have to use my scroll bar so much. Now something I want you to notice right here, when I did this piece, Let me go ahead and control delete that piece. When I joined this, I did not come all the way down here. I could do that, but then I'm going to have a double running line there. So I'll just kind of pick it up here. I don't want to have any bumps or lumps in this. Redwork style is much nicer without the bumps and lumps. And then I'll pick it up right here, like that. And you'll see that it'll blend very, very nicely. The outline icon, right click and merge. But you can see here, I'm overlapping a little, so I'll just right click. I'm going to move that little guy so that everything looks good. Always review your design. Make sure that your things are looking exactly the way you want it to look. I don't know why my Navigator looks so odd, but it is what it is. Okay, so here's our beginning. If you were going to put the pencil on a baseball cap, would you do it differently or about the same? This is going to be too big for a baseball cap. You would have to have this be about 2 inches big for a baseball cap. And I would do it differently than how I'm doing it now. For a baseball cap, you kind of like to start as close to the center as possible and work out if you can. I don't do a lot of baseball caps. I don't do a lot of that stuff. That's not what my business is about. But you kind of want to work from the center out because of the nature of the baseball cap and the fabric on that part of the baseball cap. I don't think a 4-inch design will fit on there. And I certainly would not take a 4-inch design and shrink it down to 2 inches, because then you will have a mess, particularly if you don't do it in the native software. If it's a gen file and you shrink it down, you have a better chance of it being successful. Okay, so let's go over here and let's see if we can find a yellow that I want to use. I'm going to start in a yellow. Okay, we'll use this one. Now I am going up to 400 because why? Because I always digitize at 400. And I'll start here, making sure that I'm overlapping my little black lines here. Can always fix them if I don't. Oops, missed the eraser. Just work your way around. This is a simple way of doing it. You can do it more complicated, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do each little piece separately. I really like our divide tool a lot, so I love to use it because I know when I use divide with a curve or divide with a line, it's going to be correct every time. If I put the pieces in individually, I could make a mistake. So I like to use this tool. Back up to 400. Now I'm going to divide out my pieces. So I'll right click on the pencil, the outline icon, right click, divide with a curve. Now I'm going to hit the F4 on my keyboard so I can see underneath. And I'm just going to start right there, come all the way out. Trying to decide, should I do these pieces? I am going to do these pieces in separate pieces because then I can change the stitch angle and get kind of a different effect. When I'm all done, I'll hit enter and escape. Guess it won't let me do that, so I'm going to back up here. I'm going to do the dividing again because I didn't like how that turned out. So I'm going to divide with a curve. My pen got in the way. I couldn't see what I was doing. It's the only issue I find with the pen is sometimes my hand gets in the way when I'm trying to do something. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going to like that better. And escape and generate. And now I have all these pieces. So all these pieces. This one down here, I'm just going to right click on the black chip because it's the same black I used before. This one, select that. That's the eraser, so we'll make it that color. This one, I'll hold my control key and select these, and those are going to be gray or silver, like that. And now we've got the pencil pretty much made. Now there's just decisions to be made about how we want it to look. I like that the yellow is on top of the lighter yellow because it's kind of like a pencil. The heavy yellow is on top of this. So I'm kind of liking how all this looks. But I do think I want to outline at least this because it kind of doesn't show. So let's change our stitch angles a little bit and see if we can get something better. I think I'm going to outline them with one shade darker than the color that they are. Okay, let's go bigger so we can see what we're doing. But I know that I'm going to have a double line here. So I'm going to leave it on this one. Select this one. Triple run. Right click and divide with a line. I want to remove this second outline. Hopefully we got it. Okay, so this line I want to keep. Or no, I don't. I don't want to keep that one. So I'm going to say, make that one go away. This one I want. This one I want. This one I don't want. Okay, now I'll select this one. Same thing, create an area from outline edges and say OK. Now I'll select all of these. I'm just going to go one or two shades darker just so that I can see how that looks. Now let's look at the ins and outs here. In and out. I put my finger right on the screen where my out is. I'm going to change the stitching order so that it stitches smoothly. My in is up here because my out for the pink eraser is up here. So there's my finger for my out. First gray piece, it goes in where it came out. Here's my out. It's going in and out in the same place. So where's my in? We need to change that. So let's drag the out down there. And then let's take our in there. And our out can stay there because our in for the pencil is there. Okay, but now we've got a little issue with this. Let's merge them. Okay, that's better. But I want to take this and move it up to stitch right after. No, I do not. Sometimes you do things and then you say, oops, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want the yellow on top of my line, in other words. Okay, so here's our guy so far. Could you leave the stitch angles the same since you outlined in a darker color? You shouldn't, because anytime you have an adjacent area, and these are fairly big areas, they're not huge, they should be different. Otherwise, you're going to get push and pull compensation that could really be a problem, and it won't register. It won't line up correctly. So you really shouldn't. You want to change them. Okay, so my question is, do we want some kind of an outline around the yellow and the pencil so that we can put some detail lines in here that they did not put in? And I'm thinking maybe we want to put a couple little detail lines for the pencil, like maybe right up just a couple. So I am going to outline this. But I don't want this outline in here. So I'm going to divide with a line. Take that outline out. So this piece I'm going to, boy, this remote thing is working awesome. I love it. Let's go over here. But now what we need to do is make some adjustment here. I apologize for my phone kind of going crazy. Okay. And this guy is going to go up here so that he goes underneath the gray. Sometimes you get some funny things that go on. Just trying to, that's better. Okay. So now I'm going to take a line and I'm just going to actually hit escape. I'm going to select these three things and merge them. So now I have a few little details in the pencil. It doesn't have to go all the way up. It can, but it doesn't have to, because you're going to have the little face. Now, I don't happen to like these living design things, but a lot of people do, so, you know, that is what it is. I just think when you try and force a face on something that doesn't belong on it, it looks kind of weird. Okay, I'm going to put these guys on. Come right up to the edge. I could do these in satin, but I feel that it might just be a little too heavy. Select them. I'm going to right click on the black. and turn them black. Again, I do not want them to travel here, so I want to trim that so that they jump. I don't want to travel there. If you adjust the fill area, does add outline follow the shape, or do you delete it and reapply it? If you adjust the fill now, it's not going to register. So I would delete the outline and do that over, just to be sure. Just to be sure. Karen says no, she doesn't do baseball cap designs. Can't say that I blame you. Okay, so now we have the face. And I kind of think these eyes look a little weird without having an outline over them, but I'm going to do them the way they are, and then we'll see if we like them. So I'm guessing we are going to put a black outline around them. Let's select them. Trim or jump. Okay, I'm thinking we need a black outline around them because they're not very pronounced. But let's create a void underneath them because those are fairly big areas and you're going to get some buildup of stitches in there, so we don't want that. Okay, so now let's create an outline from area edges, a triple run, and say okay. They're selected, and I'm going to choose black. Go back up to 400. Now, at 400, this looks like, oh, Holly, this isn't going to match up. It's going to be awful. It's going to be terrible. Stitch it, because your push and pull compensation is set. And this is why you set your push and pull compensation, because when this stitches and then the outline comes around it, it's set so that this outline will indeed be on the edge of your stitching. So you always stitch it first before you make a bunch of adjustments that may not be necessary. Just adding these little details. I'll select all of that. Okay, see that little thing there? It's a little funny line that generally can be dealt with by moving your ins and outs. Generally, sometimes not. Okay, looks like we got it. Now I'll come out here. Merge those. You could just make it so that they stitch, so it comes out here and goes in here, but the merging is so much cleaner with these designs. Like that. Okay, so we're close now. He's got some eyebrows in here. I'm not all that fond of the eyebrows, but I will put them in because I will put them in. Okay, let's do our eyes. Okay, let's select our eyes. I'm going to lighten up the density a whole bunch. I'm also going, oops, I'm also going to remove underlay. You know what? I'm not, because I did a void. Okay. Now let's put in the little eyebrows. Turn them black. And then there's a little bit of stitch order we need to adjust. Here's black. That's got to go where that is. I'm just going to look at these and see where they are. Here's this black. I'm going to put this black up there. The reason I put that up there is because I want this black to be underneath the yellow of the pencil. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I can move my white up. Generate your stitch one last time. And let me take a look here. I'm going to just move that away a little bit because it looks like there's a jump stitch there and we don't want someone to say, hey, you missed a jump stitch. And here's our pencil. He's pretty much good. I just locked my image so I could select everything and group it and move it out of the way. I can now unlock my image and delete it if I would like to. The stitch count is okay. It's 5,500. It's okay for a 4x4 design, but you know, the proof is always in the stitching. When do you decide on whether to keep the tie in and outs? I always keep the tie in and tie outs unless I'm doing lace and I don't want a bunch of knots underneath things, or if I'm doing something where the knots underneath might be not good for the design. But you have to have a tie in and a tie out anytime the needle goes down into the fabric for the first time or comes out of the fabric for the last time. Otherwise, you're going to have it pull out. I thought the eyebrows were straight hair. Well, you know, yeah, weird. They look like eyebrows to me. When I have artwork that I delete, I end up with a box around the work. Does that mean the artwork is still there? It looks like a box with dotted lines. Looks like that? That means you're not deleting it. If you select it with a left click and delete, it goes away. You can't select it with a right click, so you're not selecting it apparently. Or if you're using the auto digitizing features, you cannot delete the artwork. If you're using auto digitize, you cannot delete the artwork. Am I correct in saying that it doesn't matter where the ins and outs are as far as how the area or line stitches? Somewhat. You're somewhat correct in that. The thing you need to be aware of is on lines, if you want a single line, you better make it go in and out at the end. Otherwise, if you make it go in and out in the same place, like this, if you make this go in and out at the same place, it's going to come in and stitch a single line down and then come back. So you're actually going to have two runs. If you want a double run, you're going to get the same thing. And a triple run, you get an extra run in there. So it depends on what you're doing and what your purpose is. So like here, it's starting here, which means it's going to run and do all of this other stuff. Come up here, do triple down here, triple, single, triple, single, triple. You know, it's going to figure its way around here until it comes out up here. So if you want a single run, you're going to have to figure out a way to do that with the ins and outs. It's a faded dotted line. I don't have it. You can see right here, I don't have it. I turn my artwork on and off. It's not here. Do you use smooth edges or not? And I'm assuming that means after I create an outline. I do not. I do not use smooth edges. Um, oh, you mean smooth edges on the area? Smooth edges on the area? You can. The reason I don't, most of the time, I'm going to say most of the time, is because when you do smooth edges, let's use smooth edges here. When you use smooth edges, now you have a flat edge here, and there's more bulk on the edge of your design. If you use the regular edges, you have a pointed edge that's going to be easier to cover and more consistent all the way around, in my opinion. I don't use smooth edges for when I use outlines unless there's a really, really good reason why I would do that. For areas, it doesn't matter unless you're concerned about, okay, and you go in here to pull compensation. You see this right here and this right here? When you're stitching something and you have a circle, it's going to do the underlay. Probably going to do it like this, all the way across like this. When you come back in with your cover stitches, here's where your underlay came out. It's probably going to do something like this and travel over to here and around to here. Then it's going to start covering. And at some point, it's probably going to do this and start coming back. When it does, and you get here, this setting right here and this setting here means that you will now have an overlap of stitches, at least one row, sometimes two, right in the center. Generally, you can't see that with a normal density. If you're doing something like lace, or you're using a light density, or you're using arc fill or things like that, you may see that double line. So you might want to control where your ins and outs go. So it depends on what you're doing. That's a great question. Depends on what you're doing. Do the eyes come out better when you do satin as opposed to make a circle and a satin? No, I'm just so used to doing it. You hold your, I always forget when it is because I don't do this. If you hold your control key down, you can make that oval. And then you can just change this into a satin. You probably will have to change your ins and outs so that it looks nice. But no, I mean, it just depends on what you like. I like to control how my how the eyes look. So I generally don't use the circle and make a satin. Sometimes I do, but not always. Okay, I'm going to save. The first time you save, it just does a general save to the last place you saved. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here. and do back to school. Oops. And now it's saved. Any other questions? There are other things you could do with this. You could put shading in here. You could put shading in the pencil if you wanted to. You could do as much or as little as you like. You could do the pencil, this part of the pencil, in applique. You could. There's lots of things you could do with it. You could change your settings so that you get more of a rounded eraser-ish look. You could change this one the same way and have it look like it was kind of sharpened. All kinds of things you can do. Did you miss the source? The artwork source was I think it's Embroidery Art Site. No, Embroidering Colors. Embroidering Colors. Have no idea if this artwork is still available. No idea. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Larry. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was recorded during a live webinar that Holly taught some of her students for digitizing. At this point, she's finished the lesson that she had planned to teach, and for the next 20 or 30 minutes, probably, she'll go on and answer random questions from her students during the live webinar. I'm going to cut those off, and I'm going to take those and turn them into little video shorts to put here on our YouTube channel later. But for now, you've got this lesson, and if you enjoyed it, learned something, please give it a thumbs up. That helps our rankings with YouTube. Also, if you'd like a copy of the software that Holly's using so that you can digitize along with her, we can get you a 30-day trial that's fully functional if you just go to www.trygenerations.com. www.trygenerations.com, and we'll give you all the details there. Thanks for watching.